The story begins with the main character, Gona, receiving too many messages on his phone from strangers. All these people hope that they are dealing with Gona's friend, Kim Hasung, a pretty lad. Kim Hasung doesn't want to communicate with them at all, and that's why he gives them his friend's number instead of the left numbers, which makes Gon indignant. In addition, Kim Hasung also does not reveal his name to strangers, calling himself Jugon. One of the young people who showed a keen interest in Gon through correspondence was Yandal. It was his appearance that caught Gon's attention and aroused his interest. Gon was looking at the attractive stranger when suddenly he received a call from Kim Da-hyun, his client, asking him to reschedule the meeting for the next day. Gona, although he was busy, rescheduled the meeting for 9 in the evening. Jugun is a 25-year-old alpha who works as a relationship counselor. He studied to become a psychologist, so he took this job in order to maintain his specialty in his diploma. Gona was previously in a relationship. According to him, the girl he was in love with was flighty. She was attracted to one handsome guy, so she and Jugon broke up. He often faced condemnation from both clients and acquaintances, who expressed opinions about his lack of attention to his own problems and personal life. Some clients even showed aggression towards him, showing their dissatisfaction openly. Yes, to be frank, he began to feel tired of his line of work. He's tired of his profession. His stream of thoughts about changing his specialty was interrupted by messages from the same Yandal, who continued to write, thinking that he was in contact with Kim Hasung. Yandal said that he would soon come to Korea and would like to meet with him, that is, with Hasung. Gonna mindlessly read the notices inviting Yandal to dinner, or maybe even to a theater performance. Yandal, meanwhile, in the United States of America, argues that he wants to return to Korea only because of one person, Kim Hasung, who, in turn, called himself Gon. Yandal and Hasung met in an American nightclub. Then, after talking a little, Yandal found out that his hobbies coincided in everything: music, cinema, and culture. He immediately realized that Hasung was his type. Love at first sight, or what? Yandal immediately provided his number to Hasung, worried about losing contact with him in the future. After exchanging their Korean phone numbers, they said goodbye that evening at the nightclub. Despite the fact that Jugun was completely different from what Yandal thought he was, he still agreed to have dinner together. In his conversations, Gosun always avoided discussing possible meetings. He constantly moved from one topic to another, which caused confusion in Yandal, since he could not understand the reasons for such a selective and evasive manner of communication. Yandal, meanwhile, fell head over heels in love with a man he doesn't really know. He fell in love with the image and rushes to meet it, hoping to connect the future with it. Yandal's girlfriend is clearly amused by the whole situation. She laughs, saying that the memories from the club may be inaccurate because the guy was drunk at the time, and this, in turn, means that he may confuse something. Jugun is in Korea meeting with Kim Hasung, talking about how she is now communicating with Yandal. Hasung doesn't like the idea and looks at his friend as if he's weird, tactlessly asking, "Are you doing this because your life is boring?" During a dialogue with a friend, Gona was simultaneously typing messages to his new acquaintance, Yandal. Hasung, unable to bear it, snatched the phone from Jugon's hands, lashing out at him, saying that this was completely unlike him. However, Gona grins cheekily, emphasizing that Kim Hasung himself is to blame for divulging his number everywhere and indiscriminately. He also admitted that he likes Yandal, clarifying that Yandal is very caring and kind, thus causing Hasung irritation. Kim Hasung is angry when he learns that his friend still hasn't told Yandal who he's really talking to. Gona continues to be confused about her mistake, claiming that there is nothing special or significant about her character. Gona continues to talk about Yandal with hearts in his eyes, talking about how Yandal says goodnight every night and wonders if Gona has eaten. Hasung is dissatisfied with his friend's unusual behavior, and, expressing his concern, he wearily rubs the bridge of his nose and asks if Jugun intends to meet Yandal during his stay in Korea. Jugun is amazed at such a stupid and embarrassing question. He replies that under no circumstances will he meet him in life, at least because the two of them are alphas. While Gona was deep in conversation with a close friend, his attention was suddenly drawn by a notification from Jaewook inviting him to meet for drinks in the evening. Hasung was not happy about this either. He was against Jaewook, arguing that such a good person as Ju Gon was not needed for such company. Gon managed to persuade his friend, but on the condition that Ju Gon will not call Kim Hasung. Gona drank quite a lot. His evening with the girl promised to be interesting, but as soon as they entered the alley, a call followed. Yandal called him. Without thinking, he picked up the phone, listening to the words of Yandal, who expressed his desire to hear his voice again. They had never had any conversations on the phone before, and so Yandal heard Gon's voice for the first time. Yandal said that he liked Jugun's voice, to which he received a compliment in return, blushing awkwardly. The conversation almost ended with Jugon sneezing and informing him that he was most likely ill. Yandal wanted to hang up, relying on the fact that it was better for Ganya not to strain his throat, but he left him in time, saying that he felt fine. The phone conversation that took place at that moment really pushed Gon to think about how right it is to hide his true identity by introducing himself in society as his friend. At the end of the dialogue, the guys agreed to switch to you. Ju-gun then pronounced his name using a vocative ending, which shows even greater closeness between them. By doing so, he embarrassed Yandal, causing him to blush again. After returning to Korea for a while, Yandal and Gona were unable to arrange an in-person meeting for 2 weeks. Despite this, they continued to communicate only by phone. Ju-gun constantly talked about being busy and/or sick, which made Yandal think that he was drawing out a special boundary to make it clear that nothing could happen between them. In one of these conversations, Gona told Yandal that he works as a love consultant, surprising Yandal. Gona began to worry that the level of expectations towards him had now skyrocketed, and therefore he would clearly upset Yandal with his real appearance, to which Yandal hastened to reassure him, saying that he liked Gona the way he is. Soon Yandal completely disappeared. He did not pick up the phone and did not call himself. Jugong began to worry and even wondered, what if he found out everything and now doesn't want to maintain communication? Gona spent his days in anxious thoughts, which greatly prevented him from concentrating on his work, and as a result, he felt even more tired at the end of the working day. That evening he tried calling Yandal again after reading their correspondence again, but instead of an answer, after the beeps, only call-end signals were heard. Most likely, when Yandal finds out who he was actually talking to all this time, he will break off all relations with Gona. This realization hit Gona like a heavy weight, making him feel the weight of his actions. Meanwhile, Hyundai disappeared due to poor health. He took pills and slept. But when he felt better, Hyundai looked at his phone, the screen of which was glowing with missed calls from Gon. But despite worrying that it would be abnormal to call him late at night, he still dialed. By the way, Ju-gon was waiting for this. He sat on the bed, crossed his arms on his chest, and looked at the gadget screen, waiting for a call from Yandal, promising himself that he would sit only until 1 in the morning, and if he didn't call, he would just lie down sleep. Having received the long-awaited call, he immediately grabbed the phone, immediately starting to ask questions about the health condition of the sick Yandal. After they discussed their problems, the atmosphere became more relaxed, and they could continue the conversation without tension. Gona admitted that there is a special connection or feeling between them that makes their relationship unique. Meeting with Kim Hae-sung again, Ju-gun revealed that he really liked Yandal. He also said that when communicating with Yandal, he pretends that he is an omega, which made Hae-sung very angry. Kim Hae-sung remembers where and how he and Ju-gun first met. Their first meeting took place in a bar, amid a noisy environment, amid many faces expressing fatigue and irritation. Hae-sung found one that looked happy. Gon's eyes sparkled with joy and delight, as if he was actually relaxing there, in a turbulent environment. Hae-sung initially doubted that it was possible to establish friendly relations between them, but despite this, they still discovered common interests and topics for communication. The only drawback that Ju-gun had, in Kim Hae-sung's opinion, was that Gona communicated with just anyone. Their friendship was strong and pleasant. Hae-sung truly cared about Gona's well-being and always cared about him. Kim Hae-sung says that Ju-gun has always avoided a full-fledged, serious relationship, and Hasung even suspects that this is because of his lack of self-confidence. By giving his friend's number and name to strangers, he really hoped that Gon would finally realize what an abyss his life was heading into. But things didn't go the way Hasung wanted. Gona admitted that he is seriously considering going to meet Yandal. This couldn't help but anger Kim Hasung. However, Gona gave up on this, explaining his actions by saying that if Hyundal doesn't like him, then he can't do anything, but he still needs to try to meet. During one of the conversations on the phone, Gona fell asleep, snoring straight into the receiver. Then Hyundal said that he would definitely come to Korea again, and they would definitely meet. Gong woke up in the morning. His attention was drawn to the phone with messages from Hyundal that he wanted to call in the evening and say something. Spending another day at work made Gon think about his future with Hyundal. During work hours, Gon was approached by a client who expressed his desire to try a relationship with an alpha, being an alpha himself, which became a very interesting subject for Gon to think about. Much to his surprise, the client who came to Gona with a problem about the relationship between alphas also asks Gona to share his situation. While this was happening, Hyundal purchased a ticket for a flight from New York to Seoul, in anticipation of meeting Gona soon. Gong's parents were dissatisfied and irritated, constantly reminding him that it was time for him to get married, while he, in turn, was completely absorbed in conversations about work, not paying attention to the words of adults. Gon's mother looked at him menacingly and started a scandal. The adults also continued the discussion, talking only about Gon's future. They said that he should already go abroad to study or, in extreme cases, to a master's degree. However, what surprised Gong even more during the meeting with his parents was that they decided to invite a girl with an attractive appearance in order to find a good match for him. Soon they were alone in awkward silence. Gona admits to himself that if he were Gona in the past, this girl would not leave him indifferent. But now his heart is occupied by Hyundal. It was for this reason that he apologized to the pretty lady, saying that nothing would work out between them. After which he left the establishment, ending the date. In the evening, when Gona was walking home from training at the gym, Hyundal called him. Gona was surprised that he was calling him so early, but still picked up the phone, carrying on casual conversations. Gun also talked about the blind date his parents arranged for him. Gona also admitted that he doesn't really have any special aspirations in life. He was always just drinking with friends, not showing any activity towards his future. A little later, Gona began to notice that their dialogues had lost all formality. They often opened up and shared spiritual problems that it was unusual for Gona to understand that he really liked the guy, although before he had been attracted exclusively to girls. They became very close with Hyundal. Gon would like to see Hyundal. I would really like to. The only thing that actually gets in the way is the fear that Hyundal, having found out who Gona really is, will decide to turn away from him. While talking on the phone, Hyundal asked a question, causing Gossen to freeze in surprise. Should I come? Hyundal simply asked. He said that he had actually already packed all his things. Hyundal bypassed all of Gona's excuses. He said that if Gona gets sick, he will bring medicine. If he stays late at work, then Hyundal will be waiting for him. Hyundal insisted that Gong repeat for him what he had already said, while Gong was engrossed in his thoughts. Hyundal asked Gon to confirm that he missed him. Hyundal then said what he originally wanted to say while looking into his eyes. He admitted his sympathy for Gona, after which he realized that he was in big trouble. The time has come. Hyundal flew from New York to Korea. They made a date at a cafe where they came together. The problem with this meeting was that Gona knows what Hyundal looks like, but Hyundal himself does not know what the real Gona looks like. That is why the embarrassing look of a stranger with dark hair made Hyundal indignant. What a shock it was for Hyundal when not a blonde young Omega sat down in front of him, but a pumped-up dark-haired alpha. The first thing Hyundal thought was that Gona in front of him is from some sect that promotes the importance of God in society. Hyundal immediately said that he was an atheist, causing confusion in Gona. Then it occurred to him that in front of him must be Gona's friend, who had come to the meeting in his place to tell him something. He immediately began bombarding him with questions, worrying that something could happen to Gona, a la an accident. However, Gona hastened to calm him down, after which he loaded him even more. He admitted that Gona is him. At first, Hyo Hendel was perplexed, then shocked, and then completely angry. And while his range of emotions was changing, Gona was very worried. Watching this, Hendel's obvious rude reaction after Gona told everything was not long in coming. Hyo Hyundal didn't want to listen to Ju Gon, and he didn't want to stay either. But Gon begged to forgive him and stay, saying that he really missed him and really wanted to meet. And Hendel remained, still angry and upset. Gona said that he had brought a gift and began to take it out. He presented a gift in the form of a tie, which he had purchased with the idea that it might be useful to Hendali in the upcoming interview. But Hendel was not pleased with this gift at all, but on the contrary, he took this gift as a bribe. Hyo Hendel said that it is stupid to believe that after what happened, they will communicate well, as before. Besides, the two of them are alphas. This means they won't succeed. Gona offers to remain friends, to which Hendel wonders why he would do this and what the benefit would be from it. Ju Gun doesn't give up. He talks about how he could introduce Hyo Hyundal to Kim Hasung. Handel explodes with anger. He starts screaming, attracting the attention of those around him. After which he simply leaves, leaving Ju Gon alone with the thoughts and interested glances of the cafe visitors. The thought that this was the end of communication fell upon Hyo Hendel like a huge burden. He froze, thinking only about this. He even regretted many of the words he said in a moment of anger, and turning back, he thought. Looking at Ju Gon, Hendel noted to himself that Gona had prepared himself today. He was dressed in a business suit, which was already alien to him. Also, he most likely visited the hairdresser before the meeting. And I carefully chose the gift. Unable to bear it, he nevertheless returned to Gon, again sitting opposite him, leaving Ju Gon in shock. Hyo Hendel asked for forgiveness for some words he said in a fit of anger. Still, he knew that such phrases could seriously hurt him. Ju Gun reassured him that everything was fine, and he shouldn't worry about his feelings. Gona even complimented Hendel's appearance, saying that he had the appearance of a model. Ju Gun promised that he would never lie to Hyo Hyundal again, holding out his pinky for a pinky oath. However, Hendel did not reciprocate. Gona suggested going for a snack, and at his own risk even casually inquired about Hendel's food preferences without even hoping for a specific answer. But Hendel actually caught the wave of friendly conversation by agreeing to dinner. Hyo Hendel's thoughts were only that Gon might also be embarrassed by this situation, that he was also upset. He handed the bouquet to Ju Gon, causing him a pleasant surprise. All the way, Gon sniffed the bouquet, enjoying its wonderful smell, and Hyo Hendel even thought that it was not in vain that he bought it, although he initially had the opposite opinion. Ju Gon quickly adjusted to interacting with Hyo Hyundal face to face. He pulled Hendel's tteokbokki along with him. Gona admitted that he tried to lose weight for the sake of his first meeting with Hendel, so he limited himself in food and training. Then Gona said that he wanted to become like Hasung in order to still attract Hyundal, to which Hyo Hyundal said that he believed that there was no point in this, because everything was fine with Ju Gun. Hyo Hyundal constantly thought about the fact that here he was, Ju Gon, who was eating him. He is, of course, not the Gon that Hendel imagined, but he is still the same person. Hendal asked to go to Kari another time, not that day. He said that alas, he wouldn't be able to do it today. Ju Gun immediately insistently offered to meet tomorrow, causing Hyo Hyundal to be surprised. He looked for a meeting in every possible way in the next few days, but Hyundal still refused to meet. As a result, Hyo Hyundal, thinking that Ju Gon's schedule was full on Friday evening, suggested that they meet then. But alas, unfortunately for Hendel, Gona agreed with a sparkle in his eyes. Ju Gong understood what was going on and answered completely harmlessly. If you don't want to see each other, then just say so, I'll understand. To which Hendel reacted painfully sharply, suddenly declaring that he still wanted to meet on Friday evening. Then, however, he regretted what he had said, silently calling his consent an impulsive decision. But there was nowhere else to go. Holding out the tteokbokki, Ju Gon asked a question, to which Handel, although he did not want to, nevertheless agreed. Gon asked if they were friends. Hyo Hendel could not perceive him in any other way, after all the dialogues that they had all night long. He still couldn't believe it. And of course, Ju Gong is not a man without reason. He also realized that it would be completely foolish of him to hope for anything. However, nothing could stop Gon from pestering Hendel. Gona simply felt attracted to him, falling irrevocably in love. The interaction and atmosphere between the boys still made Hyo Hendel uneasy. He often looked away towards the window, staring into the distance, showing his awkwardness and discomfort in this situation. Yandal did not come to the meeting on Friday empty-handed. He brought his favorite croissants from a coffee shop, which, according to him, was not far from his house. Gona, in turn, brought a beautiful red flower, and giving it to Yandal, he explained that he was exploring the market for work, looking at other establishments, and along the way he acquired this flower. Their dialogues were very casual. They talked about food, interests, work. There was still a certain distance between them, an unpleasant atmosphere. Gona shared that he will open his own coffee shop because he clearly does not want to go to graduate school, and it would be much better for him to open a new business in his father's establishment, rather than go back to school. Yandal says that you can't tell from Gona that he previously completed his bachelor's degree, receiving a diploma in psychology, causing him to smile slightly. Gon was slightly confused by Yandal's interest in psychology at the dinner table. The conversation between them on the topic of human psychology began to gain momentum. Yandal has even gotten comfortable in Gon's company. Therefore, now their dialogue did not seem so awkward, but rather on the contrary, sweet. The friendly atmosphere still made Yandal feel embarrassed, so he once again reminded Gon about the distance between them. Yandal smiled, finally saying that if Gona still opens a coffee shop, let him call. Maybe Yandal will even visit him once. However, Gona remained silent, not giving any answer or any reaction. 3 weeks later, Gona began to feel unwell. He was worried about headaches, insomnia, and other disorders of his body that were not there before. Turning to the doctor, he reported that Gona had hormonal imbalances, which often caused gaps between important close people. The doctor also said that his problem can be solved by just taking the medicine that they would like to prescribe to him, but they carry side effects in the form of stress on the stomach, hair loss, and erectile dysfunction. Naturally, Gong was not particularly happy about this. Therefore, as a backup option, the doctor also advised him to see Yandal again and build a better relationship than the one they had the last time they met. That same night, Gona texted Yandal, and then he called. Yandal promised himself that he would pick up the phone from him for the last time, and still did, after which a cry was heard on the other side of the phone that Gona was afraid of becoming impotent. On top of that, after Gon voiced the symptoms of impotence, Yandal heard his own problems with which he had been suffering all this time, which means the two of them are in the same boat. They decided that it was better for them to discuss the whole situation now, face to face. That is why Gona decides to hail a taxi while Yandal gives him the address of his house. But this did not happen. That night Gon did not appear to Yandal, but came only at 7 in the morning, which angered Yandal. Gona did not come at night because he immediately fell asleep after the night dialogue with Yandal. He showed up in the morning with a bag containing curry. They talked matter-of-factly. They discussed the symptoms of a problem that was troubling the two of them while preparing breakfast in the form of curry. Of course, Yandal didn't believe it when Gona said that in order to avoid hormonal imbalances, you need to meet and call each other often. He was indignant, asking the question, "Are you hanging noodles on my ears?" By repeating his symptoms, Gona made Yandal think again that Gona was still telling the truth, and most likely he was right. While they were having breakfast, Gona chatted incessantly, either about the children's drawings that hung in Yandal's apartment, or about plans for the coming day, or asked stupid questions. Yandal kept closing him, asking him to eat in silence. After breakfast, Gona began to wash the dishes while Yandal writhed from fatigue and stomach pain. Yandal shared that he felt overwhelmed because he drank a lot of coffee while waiting for Gosen at night. Soon, Gong pulled Yandal with him into Yandal's bedroom, shocking him with his action. Yandal did not have a high opinion of Gosen, and when he felt that the situation might get out of control, he quickly grabbed the phone and even started dialing the emergency number, 911. He threatened Gon, warning him that if he did anything rash or dangerous, Yandal would not be afraid to call the police. But Gona promised that he would not do anything stupid, but only take care of Yandal. However, Yandal even allowed Gona to lie next to him in the same bed, where they simply talked about previous relationships. Gona shared his thoughts on the length of the relationship, noting that 3 months of time together is an unusually long period for him, given his penchant for fast-paced life and changes. Yandal said that his longest relationship lasted 3 whole years, But alas, he was rejected. Yandal also said that he is constantly rejected. After which, Jugong hastened to calm him down, saying that this time he rejected him. And he still rejects it to this day. Yandal was indignant that he was rejecting him, but for some reason Gona stubbornly did not refuse. There, he came to Yandal's house, cooked food, had breakfast, and now climbed into his bed. After this, Ju-gun explained that his behavior was not the result of his impudence, but rather, it was a sudden pajama party. This statement brought a smile to the tired Yandal's lips, so they fell asleep together. Previously, Yandal asked if Ju-gona really came to help and hardly received a positive answer. Yandal fell asleep. Yandal woke up first, but it was already late in the evening. Then he washed himself and examined himself. Concluding that Gon really didn't touch him, Yandal went to the safe. There he also did not notice any traces of a crime. So he went to see Jugong, who was sleeping in his bed. Yandal began to wake up Ju-gon, because he said that he needed to go to a consultation. But Gona tossed and turned, covered himself, showing in every possible way that he did not want to get up anywhere. Thanks to his efforts, he managed to wake up Ju-gon, after which they went for coffee together and began to discuss various topics. Yandal even admitted that he still wants to get to know Ju-gon better, only as a friend. And he repeated this for Gon, so as not to instill false hopes in him. Gona, already heading towards the exit, continued to discuss with Yandal the need to visit a doctor. Yandal expressed his confidence that he was not afraid of the possible side effects of the drugs, so he decided to take them, which surprised Ju-gong. After meeting Kim Hasung, they headed to one of the cafes. During the meeting, Gona asked about the possibility of renting this establishment for one day to try his hand at this area of business. During their conversation, Ju-gon even received a call from Yandal. First, myself. Therefore, he immediately hurried to pick up the phone, thereby causing bewilderment in Hasung, who was still sitting opposite and heard their entire dialogue about the medicine and side effects in the form of hair loss. Of course, for some strange reason, Kim Hasung was not aware of the fact that Yandal, whom he once dated at an American club, now maintains a friendly relationship with Ju-gon. Gona knew that nothing could happen between them, but the hope in him did not fade for a minute. As usual, Hasung is not happy with Gona's ideas. He wonders if it is worth making such sacrifices and concessions for a man who constantly rejects and does not appreciate Ju-gong. But his indignation quickly disappears when he realizes that his friend is now in love for real, and not just for one night. While discussing a topic that confuses Ju-gon so much, he began to blush and act awkwardly. During such discussions, the subject of their conversation appeared behind them, Yandal himself. Yandal and Hasung were very shocked to see each other again. Yandal, of course, recognized Kim Hasung, but what's also surprising is that he didn't get angry and shout for deception. He only softly replied that if it weren't for this situation, they would never have met Ju-gon. Apparently, they had a lot of common topics to discuss, and if not for the circumstances, they likely would have developed a closer relationship and perhaps even become friends. Hasung hurried to leave them, going off on business, and then Yandal plopped down on the chair opposite and finally relaxed, but at the same time exhaled very tiredly. Yandal came to the meeting bringing with him scented candles, bath bombs, and other entertainment items that would help create an atmosphere of complete relaxation and solitude, so that each of them copes independently. Then Kim Hasung becomes indignant and asks the question, "Isn't it better to just sleep together?" However, Yandal expresses his point of view with great categoricalness. He argues that this option is the most undesirable and unacceptable. Ju-gona suggested to Yandal that he come to visit him, and they had dinner together with something delicious that Gona would cook. The conversations between them became warmer every day, with every word, filled with a sincere atmosphere and friendly love.